Okay, here we go. The Pen and Maggie Show.
He's about to get crazy and wild. Stay for a while. Don't touch your radio
The Pen and
dial.
Maggie Show.
Kicking it back, sports talk. Listen to that and stay tuned for some giggles and laughs. Go.
Beaver, is there something bothering you?
Well, kind of, Mom. We're having an intelligence test tomorrow in school, and I don't know if I'm going to pass it.
Oh, Beaver. Beaver, of course you will. Your father did very well in school, and I got good grades. You had a grandfather that was a professor.
Yeah, it's nice having all that smart stuff in the family, Mom. I just hope it didn't all get worn out before it came to me.
Welcome to the Planet Mikey Show.
For those of you that don't know, that was the voice of young Jerry Mathers. And later in this podcast, you're in for a big treat because we're going to be joined on the podcast by Jerry Mathers, thanks to our other guest who's sitting to my left, the inimitable one, Phil Castinetti from SportsWorld in Saugus. Maybe the most famous memorabilia guy in all of New England. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I feel good.
Nice.
I feel like $50. Phil Castinetti's here. Ben Kitchen's here. Bill Smith is here running the controls as always. And this is going to be, I promise you, a very fun, enlightening, enjoyable podcast. And they're not all like that.
No.
Sometimes we have duds.
I know, but you always say the same thing about them, that they're really going to be a good podcast.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's but this one is going to be fantastic. I promise you that. We're brought to you by Pro Automotive of Webster and Dudley. ProAutomotiveMA.com, who fix all...
Trouble with your car,
There it is, there it is.
truck, or SUV. Pro Automotive is who to see. Pro
Automotive. At ProAutomotiveMA.com is their website, and you want to deal with some honest, straightforward, square business people when it comes to car repairs, they are the ones.
If it's under the car, if it's under the hood, go
Yeah.
to Pro Automotive. It'll turn out good.
You know, I'm just grateful that the nuclear football isn't in the hands of Bill Smith because he likes pushing buttons way too much. He really, really does. He really does. Phil Castinetti, my old friend of how long, 25 years at least, right?
It's got to be probably a little bit more than that, I think.
We've
Probably.
been hanging out together for a long time, and you know where the place to hang out is? And I say this to you, and I know you've hear this from other people. If you go to SportsWorld in Saugus, it's right on Route 1.
Yes, it is.
You
And
go there, you feel like you've walked into a museum of treasured artifacts. That's what it's like. Everywhere you look.
38 years of, having a retail shop, and, there's not a day goes by that we don't buy some kind of memorabilia, cards, whatever. But, I mean, it's just been crazy, too, in the last few years.
How'd you get started doing this?
I was a mailman in Everett, and I had a couple mailmen that I worked with, and one day we started talking about sports cards, how it was starting to, little stores were popping up. So the three of us pooled a few bucks, and we opened a tiny little 400-square-foot store in
20 by 20.
in Everett,
Wow.
Everett, Mass, and I bought them both out within the year and did it by myself, and
Built a reputation. And a good reputation. That's the thing. The one thing everybody says about Phil is that, he's straightforward with you on everything you do. Now, how many square feet now is the new store?
a little under 5,000.
So he went from 400 to 5,000 square feet. And when I go in there, I get like mesmerized because, and a lot of people do, they just start walking around looking at things and look, oh my God, look at that, signed by these. And some of my most prized possessions from a memorabilia perspective came from your store. The time I went in there and got a Brooks Robinson and a Stan Musial bat and, an Al Kaline. I walked out of there with 3 Hall of Fame bats. They're now enclosed in a glass case in my basement. I don't even let people touch it.
I saw those bats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Stan Musial. And, these days, the prices the athletes are getting for signing autographs, it makes it difficult, doesn't it?
You can't even really handle these new guys anymore because they want so much money. They just don't want to do it. Because if you're making $400 million contract,
Right.
why do you want to go out for $10,000? And they don't. Most of them don't care about meeting and greeting people like you saw LeBron. I don't know if you saw the video yesterday.
Yep. Oh, that
but
kid?
that's just a scumbag.
That's awful.
It is awful.
He goes, stop. Like
Yeah.
he said, back off. In other words, here's this 6'8" guy, and it's a fan. He's a kid.
And he's a little
12.
kid. But I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand when Mike Corey was 10, 11, 12, I would take him to the hotel, and I would sit back and not, just watch. And I seen scrubs blow him off. Like, it was just crazy.
That's awful. There's no excuse for that because
No.
you'd think, and I tweeted about this when I saw that video of LeBron. I'd say you'd think after all these years of being LeBron James, he'd know what it means for people who love LeBron James to meet him. Instead, he acts like a fucking asshole. I mean, I got to be honest with you. That's what he was.
Yeah, and it's funny. I put that video on my Facebook page today, and I've had close to 100 comments
Right.
since, and there's not one person that said a good word about LeBron. Not one.
He should never let his guard down that way. From a public relations standpoint, even if he is the world's biggest asshole, you should never let the world know that.
You wonder why. I mean, how hard is it to pat the kid on the head or sign an autograph or take a quick picture? I mean, it
Yeah.
makes no sense to me how these guys think.
2 seconds out of your life means so much to people who are like huge,
And you
know,
think that they
adoring
would get it. I
fans.
mean, a lot of these guys grew up, with no money and in slums, and now they're making money. Think back a few years.
Yep. Phil Castinetti, of course, is Italian, and as you know, we prefer Italian guests on this show. Ever since John Fiore. Remember John Fiore?
That's right.
We were singing Dean Martin songs with him, and you and I had a dinner at Melrose at Giacomo's one
Yep.
time with you, me, John Fiore, and Richie Taglieri's place, and wasn't it great?
Yeah, it is a great spot.
It is. You know what? I'm telling you, I got to get Richie back on the phone. He's not answering my call. Maybe I eat too much. He doesn't answer my calls now. He's like,
I don't
but
think Richie owns that anymore.
Melrose.
I think he sold it to, I don't know if it was his brother or a cousin, but I think he got out of that one.
That one there? Okay,
yeah,
because I
he
know
has the couple in the
he's
north
got
end.
the Ponza. He's got Ponza.
And he's got Margier up on Route 1 in Danvers or
Yeah.
Peabody line. And
Well, it doesn't matter. We'll find him because
we'll
when you-
find him.
Yeah, you get the Richie spot, you've done the right thing. Now, Phil is also, in addition to being a guy who is extraordinarily knowledgeable in the realm of sports memorabilia, its value, its availability, its legitimacy, and the variety. The variety of the store is ridiculous. He's also a huge Yankee fan. He's a Boston kid. What's up with that? How'd that happen?
You know what? When I was little, the Yankees were in the World Series every year. Played in the afternoon, so you'd run home from school.
So you were a little front runner.
Well, I kind of must have been. I don't know. But, I was 5, 6, 7 years old and just fell in love with Mickey Mantle and the Yankees.
Sure.
And just, I like the Celtics, the Bruins, the Patriots.
Yeah,
but-
right down the line, except for the baseball side of things. He's a Yankee fan. But you know what? I grew up in Connecticut. I don't know if I told you this. It was like half the people are Yankee fans and half are Red Sox fans, especially in the early 60s. More than half were Yankee fans, and everybody, it was all about Maris and Mantle and, Whitey Ford. So, but I was a Red Sox fan at birth because my father was, a hardcore. He used to go watch Ted Williams play. So I'm a Red Sox fan living in Connecticut where someone in your own family could be a Yankee fan, never mind just a neighbor or something, So I got very used to that. But it was always a great debate going back and forth between Yankee and Red Sox fans because the rivalry was very, very strong. But there was no hatred.
No, that came later on, I think. But
right.
I remember getting in fights at Fenway Park as a teenager.
Because you had a Yankee hat on or
Yeah,
something?
always. I
Yeah.
mean, it was always someone had to say something. That's why I hung around with a big tough guy. That if something happened, Mike, take care of
Yeah,
this.
take care of this quick. This is important. And I wore the Yankee hat. But you're a major Bruins fan. Some of the stuff I feel from you that you're most fond of are the moments that when you have the legendary Bruins guys, the tough guys, the '70s Bruins. When you have those guys in your store, you get up for that.
Oh yeah, I love the old guys were just so much fun to be around, and they get it. They didn't make a lot of money, so anything they get, it's a little bonus
They're
for them.
very
And-
human.
And like we had 6 of them or 8 of them a couple months ago when they were in town for one of those 100-year things. And I mean, we had Eddie Johnston and Rick Smith and Dallas Smith. And I mean, they couldn't have been nicer. They all stayed extra time, no extra money. It was amazing.
You've met
Amazing.
athletes in every single sport, many of them extremely famous. Aren't always the hockey players the best people?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
It seems to me like that's just the way it is. When you take the greatest hockey player in the world, Bobby Orr, and he's such a nice guy, you say, well, it's throughout the sport. All those guys are really good guys. Oh, not all of them, but 99% of them.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Bobby Orr's off the ice. I loved him as a hockey player, but in this business, because he has his own online site where you can buy and sell his
Oh,
stuff.
I see.
and,
Well,
You know,
yes.
we just kind of bang heads and just we
Yeah.
shouldn't, but
Well, most of the people that have met him though are charmed by his
just
demeanor.
because you know who it's Bobby Orr. I mean,
Yeah.
he's the greatest hockey player ever. and,
Right.
I mean, and he does come off very nice when you're talking to him.
Absolutely. I don't
know,
think there's any question.
I've heard those.
But Phil's had to actually deal with him on
Well,
a
that's
business
I
level.
have.
Let me ask you this
Yeah,
too, because
tough
who's
businessman.
the worst guy to deal with? You've dealt with so many athletes. Who's the worst guy, if you're not afraid to say it?
I'm not.
Who's the biggest asshole that you ever had to deal with on that level?
It's probably a tie between Dustin Pedroia and Julian Edelman.
Really?
Two of the worst people I've ever had in the shop.
No kidding.
Horrible.
What made him bad?
So we paid Dustin a crazy amount of money 10 years ago or so, right after he was the MVP, and he complained the whole time he was there. Oh, Phil, my fingers hurt, my this. I'm saying, Dustin, come on, will you please? You made more money just in 2 hours than some of these people make in a year.
Yeah.
I said, you have no idea, and he's doing this with his fingers. And I think, oh, my good God. And then Edelman was the same. He was done with the line with like 20 minutes to go in his time, and there was a few things left to sign. So just bang these out, Julian, and he was bitching all day about signing, and
Yeah.
I'm all done.
You'd think that they had a hard job that didn't pay off very well.
Yeah.
To complain, about
and
your
making
job.
thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean,
Right.
just be nice, smile. These people come to see you. They paying.
Listen, I'm
good
a Lyft.
money.
I'm a Lyft and Uber driver. I pick up stinky ass people from all over this state, and I drive them wherever the hell they want to go. And sometimes they're assholes. I don't complain.
But when you meet somebody and they're nice to you, you remember it. Somebody famous, you remember it forever. You tell your friends. Years go by. So, when I was 10, that guy signed an autograph.
That's
for me.
right.
I still have it right here.
That's right.
But if you're an asshole to that person,
It stings.
it stays with them forever.
Yeah, it
I
stays
mean,
both ways. I mean, if you meet someone that's really nice, you remember it. If they're really bad, you remember that too.
Yep.
The in-between ones, you kind of.
That's how I
don't
feel about
remember
Red
as
Sox
much,
ownership. I've met John Henry a couple of times. Every time he sits down and talks to me, super nice. Super nice. Anytime I've had to deal with Tom Warner, giant dick.
See, and I've seen just.
You
the
saw his
opposite.
dick?
Really?
It's so funny, yeah. But I mean,
That's
it's
funny.
Just I don't know. Sometimes they could have bad days.
Yeah,
Who knows what it is? But
But see, there's never a bad day at SportsWorld in Saugus because I've been in there 15, 20 times, and that's just the news store. And they always treat you with respect.
Yeah.
And Phil's usually there to
I'm
greet
usually
you.
always there.
Or Corey, which is America's guest.
That's
It's
him.
Corey. How old is Corey now?
23.
Your boy's 23.
He's
man.
probably sleeping right now because I told him to run the store while I do this.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you named your dog Mick, and he's the cutest 16-year-old puppy I've ever. He's always with you, and today he's not because your car doesn't have air conditioning.
Right. I left him home today. He just, as he's getting older, he's kind of, doesn't like the car rides anymore. We've driven to Florida together, and
Yeah.
he, all of a sudden he starts
Ah,
shaking.
he's beautiful.
And he's getting up there. So
He is. Last time I was in there, he was eating chicken parm. Phil went somewhere to a place, local Italian place, got a chicken parm. He's giving Mick the chicken parm. I'm like, this dog eats better than me, man.
no dog food for him.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I have a quiz for you. It's a Yankee quiz. Now, I want everybody to know, though, if you need anything, and I got so many things from there. The only thing I couldn't get from you, because I think Dick Raditz's family wanted it back, was the pictures of his hands. Remember those?
Yep.
They had life-size, actual size drawing. Someone drew a picture of Dick Raditz's hands because they were really freakishly large.
Yeah.
And they were ridiculous. You'd shake his hand and your hand would disappear. Like you felt
I
like,
know. It's like shaking a baseball mitt.
unbelievable. And Nick Raditz, I got to tell you, I love that guy so much. And I can't believe he died in 2005. It's
Yeah.
been such a long time. But the things we go out to smoke cigarettes back when I smoked butts. We go out in the hall, to go down, and he just said, "Just smoke in the men's room. No one's gonna know." Oh, right, sure. So we come by the men's room, and he'd say, he'd stop in a hall and lift his leg and you'd hear this. It sounded like a dog barking when he'd cut one. I'd say, "Monster, that sounded like a dog barking." He goes, "Kind of did, didn't it?"
He was one of the good ones.
He was huge. Yeah, one of the finest. So anyway, this is a Yankee quiz, and this is going back in time for you. Now you'll be the lifeline. If he can't get one, and I don't anticipate that, then Ben, maybe you can pipe in the answer. Because I worked very hard on this quiz. 10 questions. First question. 1964 World Series. I was there in Game 4 at Yankee Stadium when Ken Boyer hit a grand slam. His brother Cleet was playing third base for the Yankees. Cletus Boyer. Ken Boyer was the Gold Glove winning third baseman for the Cardinals. Cardinals-Yankees World Series grand slam over the head of Boyer and around the foul pole. Put the Cardinals ahead to win, and they won that series. Now, I was happy because I was an anti-Yankee fan. But this is the question. Who was the third Boyer brother?
His name was Cloyd.
Cloyd is exactly
terrible
correct.
name.
Excellent.
Great poll.
Cloyd Boyer was the oldest brother in the Boyer family. He was a shitty pitcher. He was like 20 and 23. Well, listen, it's like Arkansas family or wherever they're from. Cletus, Cloyd, and Kenny. You killed Kenny. It was Cloyd Boyer. Very good. You're 1 for 1. Now, number 2. That same year, 1964, Yogi Berra had an incident on the team bus with which infielder?
Phil Linz.
Phil
Look
Linz.
at that. Bingo.
What was the incident?
Harmonica. They had just lost a game. They're on the bus. Phil Linz is playing a harmonica, and Yogi got pissed. Went back and swatted it out of his hands, and it hit him. It hit Joe Pepitone in the knee, and Pepitone pretended he was on the DL. All over a harmonica incident. It was a very famous incident that year.
Oh, yeah.
And they, of course, are on the way to the World Series. Okay, he's 2 for 2. I knew he'd get these. 3. In which state was Roger Maris born?
South Dakota.
Wow, look at that.
Wait, was he born in Hibbing, Minnesota, next to South Dakota, and grew up in South Dakota? Let's look.
Yeah, he was born in Hibbing.
Hibbing, Minnesota.
Yes, sir.
You were that close, though, because Hibbing is right across the border for South Dakota, and he grew up in South
walked
Dakota.
over.
Yeah, he did.
That's right. Bob Dylan's hometown.
You're 2 for 3.
South Dakota
Bob
or
Dylan?
North Dakota? Because I have here, he went to high school in Fargo, North Dakota.
All right, yeah, the Dakotas.
They're the same.
Interchangeable.
They're the same.
You know,
Why?
they're
Can we just have Dakota?
They're like Millie and Vanilli. Nobody gives a shit. But you know who else was born in Hibbing, Minnesota? Bob Dylan, yes. You know who else?
Thank you.
Kevin McHale.
Kevin.
Yes.
Yes.
And you know who else?
No.
Roger Maris.
Right.
Number 4,
Dick.
Garrett Cole won the Cy Young Award in 2023. And for $48 million a year, you should win the Cy Young every year. Can you name three of the Cy Young Yankees before Garrett Cole? In other words, name any of the 3 of the 4 Cy Young Award winners in Yankee history.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Whitey Ford.
Yes, he was in 61.
Okay, I got to think about that for a second.
He was 25 and 4 that year, by the way.
Bob Turley.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, Bullet Bob. Wait a minute. Okay. No, they didn't have both an American and National League one back then. I'm thinking more recent.
Okay.
But Bob Turley did win the overall MLB Cy Young Award.
Right. Okay. So that's actually a correct answer. So he's got 2 out of 3 right now.
I think late 70s, early 80s.
Don't give him any hints. He knows 10 times more than all of us on this
Oh,
show.
my good buddy Sparky Lyle.
Sparky Lyle.
Look at that.
Albert Sparky Lyle.
Yep.
Yeah, that's 3. Okay, well, now there's only 1 you're missing that you really should, or 2 you're missing. 78.
Is there a cash prize for this?
Catfish Hunter?
No.
No.
Louisiana Lightning.
Oh, that's right. Ron Guidry.
And Roger Clemens in 01. So that's all the Yankee Cy Young. But he got it. He got 3. All right, now, which Yankee had the most triples? I love triples. And I'm not talking like, in an orgy. I'm talking about on the base paths. Which Yankee of these 3 had the most career triples? Willie Randolph, Bernie Williams, or Phil Rizzuto?
I would have to say Phil Rizzuto.
Yes, he did.
Scooter.
62 triples. By the way, Manny in his whole career had 20, so he didn't hustle.
No.
Phil Rizzuto ran hard out of the box.
And they had a big, wide open center field,
Sure.
too, back then. So
Now, Mickey Mantle had 72, which is low, but he had all the injuries. All-time leader of Yankee triples.
Lou Gehrig.
Yep, 163.
Wow.
Whoa, I guess he was pretty good, that guy, Lou Gehrig. Number 6, Al Downing was the first black Yankee pitcher. He gave up the Ken Boyer Grand Slam that we talked about earlier in the quiz in the 64 series. But what else is Al Downing famous for?
He gave up Hank Aaron's 7/15th.
Yes, he did. And he gave up Hank Aaron's Babe Ruth record-breaking home run against the Dodgers. And the guy that tried to catch it was Bill Buckner in left field, and it went over his head. And the guy who caught it in the bullpen was Tom House. You know, they should all be on some autographed baseball somewhere. By the way, the baseball that I ruined
Yes.
was the Mickey Mantle, Ted Williams signed ball that this kid insisted I sign. I said, I'm not signing that. He goes, why not? I said, I'm going to ruin that. It's a great ball. It's like, are you kidding? He goes, no, my dad wants you to sign it. I said, I don't believe you. He put his dad on the phone. The guy said, yeah, I really want you. So
What?
now I signed the ball. Mikey Adams, Ted Williams, Mickey Mantle. I'm looking at the ball going, that's the only ball of its kind in the whole world.
In the world, yeah.
As it should be.
And I know because I would have remembered, right? You know. Okay, number 7. See, he's got 5 out of 6, right?
Doing well.
Okay, I mentioned Dick Raditz, the first Major League Baseball I ever met, along with which Yankee right-hander?
Is that the question?
Yeah. What was the Yankee right-hander that I met the same moment I met Dick Raditz at a sports banquet? Same moment.
Was he with the Yankees then?
Yep. I'll give you another hint on that. Big League Chew.
Jim Bouton.
Jim Bouton.
Look at that.
Jim Bouton.
Ball 4?
He wrote Ball 4. He invented Big League Chew. And he was pretty good for the Yankees before he became a Seattle Pilot in 69. All right, Jim Bouton is right. This is number 8. Which former Yankee wore number 18 for the 67 Red Sox?
Not Elston Howard.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. And Elston Howard. Get that card, Smitty. Hand that. Let's
You got
find
2
out
of
what
them.
that's worth. Elston
$1.50.
Howard. You know why he has 2 Elston Howards? Because his birthday is February 23rd, just like Elston Howard.
That's funny.
Now, what do you think those are worth? They're all beat up.
Not much.
Dollar?
Oh, not
Oh,
much.
they're worth a lot to him.
Why don't
though.
you sign them too?
$5,000.
Get Norm Risha in here. All right. Which former Yankee became Nolan Ryan's 5,000th strikeout and then said, if he ain't struck you out, you ain't nobody?
Ricky Henderson.
Yes, it is. That's a perfect line, though. You know. Okay, Ricky, how do you feel about being Nolan's 5,000th K? Well, if he ain't struck you out, you ain't nobody. And that's exactly true. Okay, now on to Mickey Mantle. Here we go. He was, well, as we know, he had so many injuries. And the Mantle that might have been, without the injuries, might have been the greatest player of all time. I don't think anybody would dispute that, knowing what we know about Mickey Mantle. He had speed. He had defensive ability. He switch hit from power, both sides of the plate. I mean, I loved Mickey Mantle, even though I hated the Yankees. Everybody did. And you loved him even more because you named your dog after him, right?
I
Your
did.
puppy. He was injured as a youth playing football, developing what disease that almost cost him his leg?
Like osteoporosis or something. It's close.
I'm going to give it to him. Osteomyelitis.
Wow.
Which back then, before, it's right around when penicillin was they would cut your leg off. Mickey Mantle almost, it saved him amputation, getting penicillin and being cured by that. But that was the first of his many, many leg
And then the
injuries.
story was that when he finally came out of the hospital, he was faster,
Wow.
which is amazing.
Fastest down the first baseline ever, 3.1 seconds. I mean, that's why he had all those bunt singles. He'd have bases empty bunt singles when he felt like it because he knew he could beat it out.
beat it, yeah.
Huge percentage of successul bunts that way. Never mind the home runs.
What's a bunt now in baseball?
Yeah, really, I know. And what's a complete game?
It's so
Right.
ridiculous.
And one of the biggest thrills of my life was going to watch David Letterman being taped, and I didn't know who the guests were. I had free tickets in the audience, and the guests were Tom Hanks and Mickey Mantle. I was like, this is the best. And from then on, I Lost all respect for David Letterman. No, it's the beard. It's the beard. People look stupid when they grow their beards out. Hey, you did a good job. Did you get 9 out of 10?
Yes, sir. 9 out of 10. There
I
it
think
is
you
right
got
there.
9 out of 10, Phil. Good for you, man. That's an A
Oh, nice. I never got one of them before.
in most schools. Well, you have a big event coming up on is it the 25th
The 25th.
of August at the SportsWorld store. And it's a big event, not so much in the traditional sense, wherein you bring in a superstar athlete, but you bring in an American icon.
I am Jerry Mathers from Leave It To Beaver TV show, and we're switching it up a little bit.
That's
and
great. That's a great thing to do because there's so many millions of people out there. In fact, we have we're going to call him and put him on the podcast.
I'll call him
with
right
you.
now.
Okay.
I'll give him a call.
Jerry Mathers, and we're going to have some fun with Jerry Mathers on the show here. But has there been any other TV or movie stars that you brought in or people?
So we had John Ashton and Judge Reinhold from Beverly Hills Cop a couple of years ago, and I think that's pretty much Rico Browning, who was the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Hello.
Hello, is this Jerry Mathers?
Yeah, it certainly is.
My name is Mike Adams. I'm sitting here with Phil Castinetti and Ben Kitchen and Bill Smith, and we're doing this Crazy Planet Mikey podcast, and we're happy to have you on the show.
Well, I'm happy to be happy to have me.
So you're in California?
Yes, sir.
So it's early. You get up early out there, huh?
Yeah, it's not that early, let me tell you. It's 10:30.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, I'm the only one that gets up normally at noon. I'm like Yogi Bear. How are you? Is my question to you. First of all, now you're 76 years old. You look great. I've seen your pictures on the internet, and Phil tells me that you're coming to the Boston area.
Yes, I am. Let's see. I'm going to be there on August 25th, signing autographs. Well, I'm trying to see where it is, but
I can help you with that, Jerry. It's 184
Okay.
Broadway in Saugus, Mass, which is Route 1
Okay.
North.
And you're going to be there in the afternoon, right?
1 to 3, yeah.
1 to 3.
Now, how often have you been able to make the sojourn to New England? Is it something you do often?
Yeah. I mean, when people invite me, and it's kind of nice to go and meet a lot of nice people and, sign autographs. That doesn't bother me at all. And people, have questions that they've always wanted to, get answered. And sometimes I actually have I can actually say, oh, yes, I know that. A lot of times I don't.
Oh, good. Well, I got a quiz for you then coming up in a couple of minutes here. But just for folks that don't know, maybe folks that are younger than me, I was born in 1954. So I was there for the beginning of the Leave It To Beaver show and right through the end. And I got to tell you this, the reruns have been an unbelievable experience for me, honestly. For some reason, when I'm watching Leave It To Beaver reruns, I relax. I revert back to my happy childhood. Yeah. And it's probably that way for a lot of Americans. Do you get a lot of feedback that way with people? It's a comfort food for TV watchers.
Absolutely. I have all sorts of people that tell me that they, they watched the show when they were kids, and then all of a sudden they were adults and they were still watching, and they really like it.
Now, the show has been, it's been around for such a long time. The original sitcom has been shown in over 80 countries, 40 different languages. And it says here, and you can tell me if this is true or not, that you said in Japan the show is called The Happy Boy and His Family, which is kind of strange. But as you walk through Japan, people come up to you and say, "Hi, Happy Boy"?
That's it.
Is that true?
Absolutely.
Man,
I wouldn't be fooling you.
That is such a wild thing. Now, how did it affect your childhood from your personal perspective, being the Beaver that early in the history of television? And back then there were only 3 networks, so I mean everybody knew who you were. But how did it affect you socially, or in your everyday life?
Well, it was really actually very nice because I had a private tutor. And my dad was a superintendent at LA City Schools, so he could get me a really good teacher. And I'd be on the set of Leave It To Beaver, and it was just a really good time. I mean, we had a really good crew of about 40 men that were the lighting people and all the different things. And they all had to have kids. That was one of the the things that you had to do because the people, the two writers wanted, Conley and Mosier wanted people that had kids so they'd know what kids could do and what they shouldn't be doing.
Right.
And every once in a while, I did what I shouldn't be doing, but they always caught me.
Now, that's well. Now, if your dad was a superintendent of schools, you didn't have to go to school at all. You could just ask him to get you some A's, right?
Good luck with that.
It wasn't that easy, huh?
Nope.
So you spent how many? 230? How many? 234 episodes was it?
Yep, 234.
Think of
It
that.
was 57 through 63, and we did quite a few shows each time, and then we take about usually 2 to 3 months off,
Yeah.
and we go back and do the next one.
But still,
Next
what
one.
a grind, though, Jerry. I mean, for a kid, learning all those lines, going through whatever walkthroughs and rehearsals and so forth. I mean, that was a huge workload for you, was it not?
Not really, because I was just so used to it. It's probably like if I asked you, did you know how to write?
Right, with crayons.
Well, see, I knew that. I'd been doing that for a long time.
Yeah.
It was even before I did Leave It To Beaver and other things, I did a lot of other shows. So I had been in the war for quite a while.
Yeah. And I guess you get used to any lifestyle when you're doing it every single day, I guess, huh? Now,
That's it.
I want to ask you about some of the characters that your show made famous, and very famous they were. In fact, some of the names of some of these characters became, synonymous with, like, for example, Eddie Haskell. Nowadays, are you ready to do this? And now
I'm ready because I know what that means.
All right, listen. I'm going to do the intro. I'm going to do the intro to your show. You ready? hold on.
Stand by. Here we go. Ready?
Okay. Leave It to Beaver with Barbara Billingsley, Hugh Beaumont, Tony Dow, and Jerry Mathers as the Beaver. See, I could still get a job.
That was
right?
terrible, Mike.
What do you mean? That was perfect.
My God.
I thought it was pretty good myself.
Yeah, I was right on the money with that. Eddie Haskell, Ken Osmond, who played, really kind of a bullyish friend of Wally's on the Leave It to Beaver show, always giving the Beaver a hard time. He was actually a pretty polite, nice guy, right?
Well, it depends because he was an L.A. police officer. So as long as you were a good citizen, he was good. But if you weren't, that motorcycle may be coming up behind you and putting you over, and you may be walking home.
He got shot at, too, didn't he?
Several times.
That's unbelievable. So Eddie Haskell.
He was always nice to Mrs. Cleaver.
Yes, he was. Whoa, hello, Mrs. Cleaver. Why? What a beautiful dress you have on today. And then the minute she was gone out of the room, he'd say, yeah, get out of my way, squirt, to Beaver, right?
Yep. Why does your mother wear such weird clothes?
Now, I'm looking through my list here. Oh, a tragedy affected Whitey, your friend on the set, Stanley Fafara. What happened? He died at an early age, and he had some issues with substance abuse, I guess, huh?
Yeah, he had some problems and was taking a lot of stuff that you shouldn't be taking, and he did pass away because of it.
Yeah, so he's no longer with us. Then there's Lumpy Frank Bank, who died at the age of 71. He was a bully as well, but his father said his name was Clarence, not Lumpy. But you pretty good guy or what?
Yeah, very, very nice guy. He was a lot older than Tony and I, although he played, Tony's age because he was supposed to be in the same thing. But that was one of the good things that the producers liked because he could stay all day and all night there if he had to, where Tony and I could only work so many hours a day because we were kids.
Because of the age, yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, Stephen Talbot was Gilbert, and he went on to do some PBS work and some documentary production and so on and so forth. He's still with us. He was, I guess he must be about 75 now.
Probably we all are.
Yeah, you make a good point there. Larry Mondello. And now,
Nice
I always thought, Jerry, that he would end up being a big fat kid because every time you saw him on the show, he was eating something, a candy bar or an apple or something. But did he turn out?
A lot of apples. A lot of apples disappeared when he was around.
Larry Mondello, his real name, Robert Rusty Stevens was his name, also born in 1948. Now let's talk a little bit about Tony Dow, who passed away just a couple of years ago. To me, and to I think everybody who watched, he was the perfect big brother in that he was cool, but he was also, in the end, was very loving of his brother and his family.
Yeah, but he was really, in real life, an AAU swimming and diving champion. So, I mean, when we were doing the show, sometimes we'd go to a pool to have a swim, and he'd go up on the high board and dive and go do 3 or 4 somersaults and land in the water. And I'm thinking, I can't do that. I better leave.
Now, were you guys close off the set?
Very much so. Yeah, he was a really nice guy. He didn't have any brothers or sisters, so I kind of stepped in and took that over for him. So he was very happy to have another person in his life.
Yeah.
That wasn't his mom and dad yelling at him.
Yeah, he seemed great. And he didn't give you to quote the show, he didn't give you the business off the set as much as he would have in the actual program, right?
He didn't at all. He was just a very nice guy, and we had a lot of fun. They had a whole crew there. One of the things that you had, anybody that was on our show, like the cameraman and all those people, all had to have. So everything was just really fun, and I had a great time doing it.
Now, you mean about the two parents on the show, and this is where America kind of formulated their opinions in many degrees about what a parent should be like. You had Barbara Billingsley, always with the pearl necklace, and always, dressed to the hilt and doing the housework in her dress. But
doesn't everybody do that?
I don't usually do my housework in a dress, but I know what you're saying. Barbara Billingsley seemed like a very nice lady. A quote from her says that she was the love in that family. She set a good example for what a wife could be. And then she said, I had 2 boys at home. When I did the show, I think the character became kind of like me and vice versa. I didn't know where one started and one stopped. So she was totally consistent as far as that personality?
Very much so. But the writers, that's why they picked her. There was, I think it was like 80 or 90 people that were on when we really first started the show.
Yeah.
And she was the one that they picked that they liked the best to be the All-American mother.
Well, God bless her. She passed away at the age of 94 in 2010. And, of course, that unbelievable moment in the movie Airplane where she's talking jive with the guys on the seat.
I speak jive.
That was true. Well, did you like that moment, or did that kind of freak you out seeing she was your TV mom?
It didn't bother me at all. I mean, I was doing a lot of things that I would never say in real life, just because they said, here's your script, read it, say it. And that's what we would do.
And Hugh Beaumont, of course, he passed away at 40, hard to believe, 42 years ago. But he was, I think, everybody's idyllic father. He was fair, but he was tough, but he loved his kids. I mean, what more can you ask of a father, right?
Well, he was a Methodist minister in real life, and he'd become an actor only because it was something that he could do and still be a minister on the weekends. So he was just a really nice guy. But let me tell you, he kept Tony and I and any kids on the set. You didn't mess around with him.
I see. So he was stern.
He was stern, but it was good because he kept everybody in line and nobody could do anything that was, something that they shouldn't be doing. Well,
we're talking to Jerry Mathers, who was the Beaver. That's all. That's all you got to say to anybody who was alive during that period of time. As a matter of fact, there's a street in Milford, Massachusetts, near where I go is Beaver Street, and every time I go by, I think of you, Jerry. It's kind of weird, but it happens. I was wondering if you thought maybe you could, if I gave you a line from one of the shows, one of the more famous or comical lines, do you think you'd be able to respond and remember the line if I give it to you?
Probably not, because we did like 234 shows.
Well,
so
if you
need,
need,
like it's just one that I would remember.
If you need a refresher, all right, I'll just try. Let's try one.
Okay.
June has prepared a lovely dinner of barbecued pork ribs, and Ward Cleaver says, "Well, you boys are very quiet tonight. What are you thinking about?" And Beaver said,
"I have no idea."
Beaver said, "I was
Where's
just
the meat?"
I was just
Where's the meat?
I was just thinking what I would do if I was a pig eating people's ribs. And then June says, Beaver, please. I think that's great. See, I wish I'd written that. All right, here's another one for you. One more. Wally says to Beaver, Beaver, you got crumbs in the butter again. Boy, if there's one thing I can't stand, it's crumbs in the butter. Do you remember?
I don't like it either.
No, you said what you said to him was, sorry, Wally, that must have happened when it fell on the floor.
Well, that's being nice, and that's what you should say to somebody.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you when you come to Saugus, to Phil's store. I'm going to come. I got to come by and say hello and get my picture taken with you. Do a selfie with Beaver, Jerry Mathers, and that'll be August 25th.
Yep.
Between 1 and 3.
184 Broadway, Saugus, Mass, Route 1 North, and it's SportsWorld, and we're going to have a good time.
It's going to be a fun time. When I look forward to meeting you then, Jerry, and thanks for joining us on the podcast, my friend.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I look forward to meeting you, too.
Thank you, Jerry.
Jerry Mathers, everybody, the one and only. Again, this going to be a lot of fun for me. Talk about fond memories. We're going to enjoy. And Phil, thank you for stopping in on the podcast.
I have a question.
No,
for Phil.
you don't.
No, I have a
no one
question for
said
Phil.
you could ask a question.
Because Phil's got the best sports store in New England. The best one.
No question.
It's humongous. It's awesome. All the sign stuff everywhere. How much? Do you just put everything you have into that store, or do you have your own personal collection that's never going to see a shelf at that store?
So
that's a good question, actually.
When I was married, I had a nice room in my house, and I had showcases built into the walls, and it was really nice, and that's where I kept all my personal stuff. And now that I'm not there anymore, it's kind of packaged up, but I still have a lot of great Mickey Mantle stuff just stored away. And maybe, when one of these days, Corey's a big Yankee fan too, so he can do what he wants with it.
What's the most amazing thing that ever crossed your path?
It was a wild yak. It was rabid.
I just recently bought Mickey Mantle's batting helmet that he wore in the early 60s.
Really?
So we're just trying right now to photo match it to, the exact game, but it came from a great source. His kid was at the game, and Mickey made the last out of the game at Fenway and smashed his helmet down and broke it.
Wow.
So the usher picked it up, and as the game, ended, and gave it to this when he was a little kid at the time, but I ended up getting that recently, and I think that's pretty cool.
You know what's funny too is Mickey Mantle, as great as he was, and he owns forever the number 7, because when you say sports fan number 7, Mickey Mantle's the first thing that comes out of their mouth, unless they're stupid.
Yeah, unless you don't know, but who else would you think of?
Well, exactly.
Trot Nixon.
I love Trot.
Let me think. D. Brown, was he 7?
Yeah, he was.
Was he?
Yeah.
Phil Castinetti, everybody, good friend of mine, and should be a friend of yours if he's not already in Saugus at the Sport. By the way, in honor of Leave It To Beaver and Jerry Mathers being on our podcast, Castiglioke have a special song that was recorded by Beaver Brown, and they want to do that on the show to close out the show. So here's the Beaver Brown song for Jerry Mathers with Castig and Troop. The dark side's calling out. Nothing is real. She'll never know just how I feel. From out of the shadows, she walks like a dream, Joe. She makes me feel crazy when she eats the cream, Joe. And nothing's gonna save me from a love that's blind. Slip to the dark side. I cross that line. Can you believe it? On the dark side. Oh, yeah. On the dark side, Joe. Oh, yeah. Hey, Trope. It's not bad. Did you ever see Beaver Brown? See her? I dated her. Dark side's calling out. Nothing is real. I just fell down on a banana peel.
You made that up, Joe. From out of the shadows, she walks like a dream. She makes me feel crazy. Makes me feel so mean. Nothing gonna save me from a love that's blind. Slip to the dark side. I cross that line. That's Shaw's. On the dark side. Oh yeah, I like my toast burnt on the dark side, please. Oh yeah. We should get out of here, Troop, while the get's good. I'm just getting into this, Joe. How you like Beaver Brown? I like Beaver any color, Joe.